Hello, and welcome to the next session of microblading and permanent makeup studio sessions. And today I have with me the very lovely Claire Stokes from PMU Focus in Grantham in the UK. It's Lincolnshire. Our talk today is going to be working title mentoring and mastering, or mastering and mentoring. And Claire is one of those people who has quietly helped shape the permanent makeup industry over the last few years. So many people know of her and her quiet and resilient and supportive hand. So I actually first met Claire in 2018 at a conference. And when I launched Botched Ink a while later, she joined us and has since become one of our very long-term techs and long-term trainers, running lots of different classes for me around the country, which has been wonderful. Claire's a great trainer to have, and students love her. So today, there's many ways that Claire supports our industry, not through just training and support. So I want you to really get to know about Claire. So, Claire, tell us a little bit about your permanent makeup story. Where did it all begin?
Well, I suppose it truly began when I was doing work experience while I was a beauty therapist. My very first boss back in 1998
Hmm.
did permanent makeup.
Oh,
And I was fascinated by it and I wanted to do it, but I could not afford, I was a student, I was trying to save up for a house. I just didn't have the money that it cost back then. And so,
training even, well, I don't know what it cost back then, but even
oh,
when I learned in like 2012, it was like 6, 8, 10, 12 grand.
it was about, I looked into it and it was over £10,000 in 1998. And my first house was £32,500. So when you put it in that perspective, that was an
Yeah.
incredibly large amount of
Yeah,
money.
yeah. But then back then there was barely any, like seriously, even like in 2012 there was barely any, let alone 10,
Yeah,
12 years, 15 years before,
yeah.
barely anybody doing it. So yeah, that's So you were aware of it quite some time ahead of the time.
Yes. So it kind of planted the seed. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. I'd like to find out more about that. But it kind of went in the background for quite a few years. And then in 2012, I had a lady join me at my clinic in the back room doing permanent makeup. She'd come over from Hungary and she was doing brows and lips and liner. Again, I'm like, oh, I just used to love watching her work. I could, if I'd got a spare 5 minutes, I'd just go and stand at the door
Was
and
it
look.
the buzz of the tattoo machine as well?
Yeah, just everything about it. I just was fascinated by it. And a couple of years in, she was like, I'm really, really busy with this. She was working for quite one of the very big companies at the time as well. Um, and she was like, oh, I could really do with someone to help me out with this. Do you want to come on board? You can be like a bit of an apprentice and such like. So we discussed that at length, and I gave her some money, and that unfortunately didn't work out with one thing and another. And so I thought, I've really got to do this. She decided to part company and moved away. So I'd got loads of clients that were really my clients that had got their brows done but couldn't get top ups and things. So I made the decision that it was now or never.
What a great opportunity.
I hadn't got the money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Literally,
And I didn't
it
either when
robbed
I first
piece to pay
started.
Paul. I did a bit on a credit card. I took a bit
Yeah.
of savings. I went and had a little chat with my mum and dad, and just really, really stretched myself to cover this training. And I went down to Sussex and trained for 4 days, then did case studies.
Hmm.
Didn't have a huge amount of support. I think I was a little bit gung ho and confident actually after 4 days. One thing
Hmm.
my trainer was extremely good at was building you up to believe that you could do anything,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is good to leave with confidence, but you can be too confident.
I think we might have had the same training company. Um,
Yeah.
so that whole thing about walking away from a 4-day training class, you do your case studies. How long
Yeah.
did it take you to do your case studies?
I was lucky because I had driven my social media before I went. Everyone that was a client of my clinic, which had been established for 8 years then,
Mm.
literally knew that's what I was going to do. That was the direction I was going in. And I came back and I'd pretty much got everyone for all of my case studies booked in.
Do you
It
know,
took me about 3 months.
you pretty much done exactly what I did.
Yeah,
Literally got off the course and straight away got
I
on with
couldn't
it.
afford not to.
Yeah.
Every single penny that I took through case studies, I think I charged like £175 a person. So I did
Hmm.
charge and a decent amount.
Hmm.
Um, it went into a separate pot. It was nothing to do with anything else, and it was purely to pay off credit card, mum and dad, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was my absolute focus, was to do that and clear that first before I did anything else.
Yeah. I
So
did a Groupon.
yeah, yeah, well,
I did a Groupon when Groupon was okay. Well, it's a different
yeah.
kind of okay now.
And I think it's
Um,
how you work with it, isn't it?
yeah,
Whatever
exactly.
you do,
So
get the most.
you joined the industry and was pretty much quickly launched as a tech, which is wonderful. Same here. And I know you do other beauty treatments as well, but obviously
Yeah,
permanent makeup's your focus here today and just your focus. So what drew you into the mentoring side of things? And then to even think about creating PMU Focus even before it was born.
yeah. I think when I started out, there really wasn't any support, not even from my trainer. You know, if I messaged her, I'd barely get a response.
Hmm.
Or I'd get a very unhelpful, yeah, that's great. um, and as I got in, I started to invest in masterclasses, but found that I probably wasn't at that point where I needed a masterclass. I needed
Hmm.
to plug the hole between beginning and learning and getting going and being a master. There was nothing in between. There wasn't the social media forums that there are now. There isn't the subscriptions that there is now.
They're a blessing in disguise. Hold on. They're a blessing as well as a curse, not in disguise. Oh, and in disguise
Entirely.
as well.
We'll circle back to that because I
Yeah,
completely agree
yeah,
with
yeah.
that. And I literally was on my own, but then equally a positive of that was I wasn't constantly on social media comparing myself to other people. It
I
wasn't
100%
out there.
agree. You found your own style.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you found your own
I
way
wasn't
of,
constantly doing down what I was
no,
doing because I hadn't got daily, hourly images to compare to.
but also that does have a downside as well,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
it's a pretty lonely place sometimes,
it is
and
very
you
lonely.
are kind of researching on your clients
Yeah.
and learning on your clients. And I remember um, this is an interesting one and it's a bit off topic, but how long after your initial training did you even dare try another pigment brand?
I think I was into it a good 3 years, a good 3 years. And it was because I went to another tech who's
Hmm.
local, very talented lady, and I had my eyebrows done with her and my lips, and because I didn't want to travel down to Sussex again. And she was using a particular brand that had become popular at that time,
Hmm. Hmm.
which again was a blessing and a curse.
But isn't it interesting
On
that it
that
took
one.
you,
Yeah.
and it took me a long time as well.
With machine and everything. I kept
Yeah,
everything exactly the same that I'd learned for quite a few years. And
because
actually,
we didn't
I
know
didn't go
what
far
else
wrong
to
with it to
do.
start with, mostly because it was an inorganic pigment. So, other than
Mm.
it going warm, which is a bit annoying, nothing terrible happened. It did fade. You could rework it. So, yeah, it wasn't terrible.
But also, one of the things that I found in having that limited source of knowledge,
Yeah.
I actually got to really understand what I was doing.
Yes. Yes, and I knew all of my pigments inside out. I knew
Yeah,
exactly as soon as somebody walked in, I knew what colour their skin needed
yeah,
without a
yeah.
doubt.
And
And that's
that's
the thing.
so much of that is missing now.
Putting a client's face on a forum, a dodgy photo, what colour do I need to
I
use?
know,
And I
I
do get
know.
the apprehension of choosing, but you need to learn. You
You
absolutely need
really
to
need to
learn
learn
out the
what
back
you're
room.
actually using,
Yeah.
and so um so what choosing trainers wisely.
Should be
Right.
used wisely. This
Um,
is something we've
what
chatted about.
should, so let's talk about beginner trainers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, beginner trainers, I think you need to find someone who's established, who has genuinely been in the industry for quite some time. You do not want someone who's been in the industry less than 2 years. Even if they've done permanent makeup every day of those 2 years, it still isn't enough to be passing on.
2 years is seriously not enough to be a
Exactly.
trainer.
Even if they're literally doing it day in, day out, it's
Yeah.
because they haven't come across everything they need to
I,
be able
I
to
mean, I'm
start
kind of
with.
thinking 4 or 5 years at least.
I would say at least five.
Yeah.
And even though I've taught in the beauty industry and been a teacher since 2001 and worked full time in a college and all of that, I have only really started teaching about 5 years ago. When we came back after the lockdowns, that's when I
Yeah.
started to do my own thing, my own courses, my own
Yeah.
mentoring, because I knew that I didn't know enough. And I was honest about that.
And because otherwise, all you're really actually sharing is how to put pigment in
Yeah, the
rather
basics.
than how to maintain it over the years. If you haven't seen your
Yeah,
own work fade over the years,
yeah,
yeah, you
absolutely.
can't be sharing that knowledge with your students,
Yeah,
and that's another reason why so much, I think, beginner permanent makeup training focuses on putting it in.
yeah.
And that's, well, it's not the easy bit, but it's
You don't
so
understand what you're using.
so a trainer that's been in the industry for a good amount of years,
Uh,
what do you think of trainers that caught followings on Instagram and have no website?
to be fair, I haven't really got time for social media. It's all edited. It's
Hmm.
You can earn £250,000 in your first year.
Yeah,
All of this rubbish, and I'll hands up. I don't earn £250,000 a year.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
well, I'm established. I work 3 long days a week, which suits me and everything else going on in my life. But I am not a quarter millionaire. Just
The reality as well, Claire, here is you've said the word, you're established. It's like with Botched Ink, I was never after instant fame. I was after still being here
yeah.
and relevant.
It frustrates
Um,
me because it's very much sold on social media as a quick book. You will get
yeah.
this quick. You won't have to work many hours. Well, you might not have to work many hours in your clinic, but what about all
Mm-mm.
the practice time, the learning time, the investment
Hmm. Yeah.
classes, honing your skills? Well, there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done. So awesome skills don't mean an awesome trainer.
Absolutely not. I have been on some masterclasses with people that do the most stunning eyeliner that heals beautifully, but they just show you how they do it. They don't teach you to do it. And one of my absolute favourite trainers was for eyeliner, and it was only 2 or 3 years ago. And as soon as I walked into her class, she looked at me and she said, I am not here to teach you to be me. I'm here to teach you to get my results your way. And I absolutely loved that because just doing her hand movement
Yeah.
necessarily going to work for me. I'm using a different machine. I might have
Yeah,
to.
yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh.
And she
So
said,
did that
I'm here to
actually
help you.
work?
Yes, absolutely. And she's like, I'm here to help you create what I create, but in your way, your way. You're an individual and you aren't me. So you're not going to do it my way
So
necessarily.
was this a small class or a bigger class?
There were four of us on that class.
Yeah, it's a nice small class.
Yeah,
Personal
I
skills.
won't go on a class that's more than six, but even then I'm not keen.
Hmm. But I mean, I feel that so many trainers, and I use that word loosely in our industry, are presenters
Yes, massively. And they
rather
just
than trainers.
regurgitate.
And what's your grasp of the difference of that?
I mean, a presenter is someone who regurgitates what they've been trained in and what they've been taught. They haven't got their own ideas, they don't have their own experience to draw on. A trainer should be someone who's well rounded, that's
Hmm.
so many different skin types and dealt with so many issues because when things go wrong in PMU, they can really go wrong, and how
Hmm.
you dealt with that and what you should do immediately to start rectifying that, how to deal with your clients who are emotional. Like
Yeah.
that's the hardest bit in the
Yeah.
beginning. But once you've honed your skill, it's dealing with clients. I mean, clients are lovely, but they can also not be, and they can be a massive, massive anxiety. You know,
How
it's
can you possibly, how can, so for a beginner training, okay, let's go for a masterclass training now. How can someone tell the difference between a presenter and a teacher
a good
for a
thing about.
masterclass? How can you tell?
Yeah, that's the good thing about social media now. If I'm thinking of doing a masterclass, I inbox my circle, uh,
Mhm.
my group, and I'll say, I'm thinking of doing a masterclass with such and such in this. What have you heard? Have you done it? You know, what's the general lowdown on their teaching style and things like that? Then I want to talk directly to a person. I get
Yeah.
very annoyed when I'm booking on a masterclass and paying thousands of pounds and I deal with some PA. I know everyone needs help with the running their business and the admin, and I get that. But I do want to have a conversation, at least one conversation with somebody to ask questions before I'm passing with
So
one of
you've just said something really important there. You go to your circle.
yes. And it's
Yeah. Your community that you've built
yeah,
of your own trusted people.
yeah.
Now, this isn't a business thing.
Oh,
This is your trusted circle of techs that
and they're all
you,
people at all different stages of their training.
yeah.
Uh, and I've sort of gathered them into my little group over the last 10 years, and they are my go-to. And there's quite a few people in it now. It does grow, uh,
Hmm.
and they are people that I trust the opinion of. Um,
Is this industry, not industry friends that you know, um, is this like in a WhatsApp group or something?
no, these are just people, and I've met them in all different places. I've
Oh,
met
nice.
them on a subscription
So,
service, I've met some on classes that I've been on,
yeah, yeah,
some at conferences. I've literally, and I keep in touch with the people that I feel are my people. You know, I'll make an
yeah,
effort to keep in touch.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's, and how empowering have you felt that? Because you're all sharing with each other, aren't you?
huge. You can't put a price on it at all.
No,
Is
you can't.
it's
Uh-uh.
it's worth all the gold. It really is worth all the gold.
So you said that started by you just getting out there and meeting people or
Yeah,
engaging with people online.
I met you. I
Yeah,
put myself out there at conferences. I went to a conference completely on my own, 2 years running, because I didn't
yeah,
know anybody.
yeah.
I just turned up, you know, hi, I'm Claire. I'm here to learn. You know, throw me all your information at me. Uh, yeah, that's basically what I did. Is just
That,
put
I mean, so, and this, I like this. So, um, choosing trainers wisely becomes easier when you have a network of yourself to fall back onto, rather
yeah,
than trying to go in blind.
yeah,
And so, essentially, what you're saying is, don't run before you can walk.
yeah, absolutely.
Allow yourself to learn. Allow yourself to build your community.
Yeah.
So. Why do so many techs try to rush the learning process?
I think some of it is social media because they see these amazing hair stroke brows on the most beautiful skins, and they're like, I want to do that. You
Hmm.
all want to be able to do that. They're incredible, but you're not going to be able to do that in your first year.
No.
Um, it's not going to happen. I think I was at least 6 years in before I felt completely comfortable with hair strokes with a machine.
Yeah.
And I think I got to 6 years, and then I'm like, I've kind of nailed the other bits. I feel completely comfortable with liner and shaded brows and all of that. And ombre could knock out an amazing ombre brow. Really happy with that. And I thought my next thing is to master and truly master hair strokes. And it's hard, and it's still hard because you'll still get a skin that throws you a curveball. You'll look at it and go, that should take a hair stroke beautifully. They come back,
Hmm.
you're like, what happened there then?
What
Like,
happened there?
no, you know, it's gone a bit ashier than
See,
I thought. And
so many people put up in the social media groups the amazing work,
yes,
the properly amazing work, and everybody asks what colour and what needle you used. But what the question that they should be asking is, how many years have you been doing this, and how long did that take you?
how many hours have you sat with a mat?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, yeah, it really is. And how many machines did you work your way through before you found the machine that felt right to do hair strokes?
Yes. What's your machine?
Yeah, and your ink. What
Yeah.
I remember trying to do hair strokes with a particular brand that I'm not mentioning, but I worked with for quite some time,
Hmm.
an organic brand, and it was awful for hair strokes. But luckily, I didn't do that many before they came back healed, and I
Hmm.
thought, oh my God, what on earth have I done? And I started to then have to undo. And so I stopped doing it like pretty quickly because luckily
Hmm.
I hadn't just, blindly carried on thinking, oh, I can just put a bit more in that gap, it'll all be all right. No, they were blurred. It just wasn't a good pigment for hair strokes. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, you just have to learn and adapt as you go. And what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for somebody else.
But
You just,
there's also a huge amount of techs, an unknown quantity of techs out there that have been taught with some of the really longer lasting pigments. I don't want to go too much into that debate,
no,
um, but
no.
but they literally are only seeing their clients once and never seeing them again because
Yeah,
A, that client didn't need the touch up,
yeah,
or B, the client thought, oh my God, they stayed. You told me they'd fade.
yeah.
Or you said, oh, they'll heal 50% lighter, like we used to say, and they didn't. So you're only going to be seeing those clients once and
Probably
never
never,
again,
because
you
they're
know?
going
So how's
to
that
lose
person going
confidence.
to learn?
Yeah, they lose confidence in you,
Yeah.
uh, all of that. But with my clients, I always invite them back, and I'll do things like I'll offer them a complimentary brow tidy
Yeah.
uh, to
Yeah.
get them in. One, I want to get their feedback. Two, I want to see it healed. I want photos of healed, which is really important. There are ways of getting them back in, but yeah, you have to work at that.
I
Don't
mean,
just
the
assume
reality is you
they're
want to
happy.
get them back in because you
Yeah,
want to learn,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, true. Yeah.
not just take their money. So let's talk about support and mentorship now. So, why do you think? Okay, no, let's handle a different question first. How important is, we've talked about how important support is and how hard, and now you've now built your network of
Yeah,
support, okay? But mentoring's quite a different thing.
yeah.
What does mentoring mean to you that's different from support?
I find that most people that come for mentoring, it's actually a mindset issue a lot of the time. They aren't feeling very confident. They feel like they've got imposter syndrome. They're never going to be any good at this. They tend to have, been on some forums and done themselves down looking at other people's work that are maybe 5, 6, 15 years ahead of them in their
Hmm.
journey.
Hmm.
They usually are really, really low on confidence, I'm finding. And that can come from not the best training in the first place, or even they've had really good training, but they've not had the after support to reinforce that good training. So you can have a great initial training, but if you haven't got your tutor there to answer questions as they come up and to deal with
Hmm.
them up, then it kind of undoes all that good training you had
Or
because,
you feel stupid
yeah,
to ask
I should know.
yet another question,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
should never ask too many questions, and it's
No.
never, the old, it's never a stupid question. It really isn't, because if you don't know the answer and you need to know the answer, then ask the question.
So why do you then think that mentorship is coming to see someone to have mentoring
Yeah,
is overlooked?
I think it's overlooked because you have your initial training and then sort of master classes with all the glitzy photos and the amazing techniques are then sold at a huge price. But often you're not ready for that.
Mm.
I've been as an attendee on an eyeliner masterclass, and I was one of five. I was the only person that had been in permanent makeup more than 2 years. I know. And this was a really advanced style eyeliner with
It took me more than 2 years to even master eyeliner, and
carbon
that was basic eyeliner.
and with carbon and all of that and
Hmm. Oh
little
Christ, no, I've
one
never
eye
even used carbon.
needles. which obviously we all know with experience that you've got to manage that migration risk and all of that. And there were two trainers in that room, and I was basically left in the corner of the room doing my own thing because I was the only one that they could leave without having a complete panic.
So you would have paid, don't sort of say the amount, but you would
No,
have paid, oh no, do go on. How much would you have paid for that masterclass? How many?
£1,500.
Pardon? I wasn't expecting that. How long a masterclass was it?
It was 2 days.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 days.
Gosh.
Yeah, but that's
So, but what you actually, well, no, hold on, without being funny, you needed their masterclass skills. Everybody else in the room needed a mentor.
and yes, they needed to have got up to beginner level. Really, they
Uh-huh,
be able to do a really good sound lash enhancement, a really
uh-huh,
good gentle little tiny baby liner with a flick
uh-huh.
minimum before they went on
So
that.
they needed a mentor, and is mentoring expensive?
Mentoring's not expensive, not if you can find the right people. Mentoring with myself, it's just under 500 a day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't just mentor you
Seven,
for,
$650, $700. Yeah.
you've literally got me on a WhatsApp or Messenger. You can ask me anything anytime. I'm not a gatekeeper. Once you're part of my
Oh,
fold,
certainly not a
you
gatekeeper. I
know,
know you're not.
once
Uh-uh.
you're part of my fold and I'm invested in you and I want you to be
Yeah,
a success,
yeah.
I'll help you as much as I
I mean, you are such a lovely patient.
I am patient. That's one thing.
Yeah, you're lovely as a trainer.
Yeah. Someone that I used to work with always used to call me Calm Claire.
Oh,
Calm Claire.
oh.
And I
So
am.
mentoring, so does mentoring have to be done in person or can that be done online?
I can do Zoom calls, we can do phone calls. I can even do half day, full day.
Hmm.
There's lots of different approaches that we can do. Um, there's a way around everything.
So what kind of support would you like techs to know that you can offer?
I can offer support with business building, not just the old rehash of having to build your social media. Yes,
Hmm.
it's important. It is now. It's relevant to now. But there are
But you've
so
also got to know who you are first before you can go onto social
many ways.
media.
Exactly. There's lots of other ways to build a business and to
Mm.
become successful without just social media.
Hmm.
And I think I forgot what I was saying now, Lisa.
No, no, the whole thing, you've got to know who you are before you can really start to grow that business. So your business support that you do, I know you also do skill support on eyeliner and brows and lips,
Just
you
getting
know.
right, getting a nice smooth shade.
Hmm.
I can work. I've worked with quite a few techs, and they come in. I'll get them to shade an eyebrow on a mat. It's got what I like to call zebra lines on it. It's not smooth. They're not,
Yeah.
and that's exactly how it's going to heal on a skin.
So they don't even need to know what the problem is. You can literally see what the problem. Just
I
say,
can see what an issue
you
is.
know,
Yeah,
I need help. I want to
yeah,
get my skills better.
yeah.
And you basically come to you and you kind of go, well, show me what you can do. Right now, this is what we can do.
Absolutely. I need to see where they're at. So usually with people that I mentor, I get them to send me pictures of their work, completely raw, unedited. I don't want any filters on them. There's absolutely no judgment.
Yeah,
I I have created disasters in my permanent makeup career.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, I have put them right
yeah, yeah.
over
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
And actually, it's only a few years ago that I reached out to one of my very, very, very first clients that I just know that I didn't do my best job on. And she came back in and she's now a very happy client. She was so happy that I reached out to her after all these years.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, which was lovely.
Yeah, and that's nice. So, I mean, the whole thing in your whole personality, the way you work, you know, what would what would you give someone to remember you about your mentoring style? What makes you a safe person to come and learn from?
Honesty,
Hmm.
completely non-judgmental.
Yeah.
If you're asking me for help, I'll give you help. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to help you find a way of making it better.
Hmm.
Patience and calm and just consistency with support. I'm not going to ever ghost you, you know.
So is this something that someone comes to you for one or two sessions, one session, or books a course of sessions over a 6 month period or something?
Completely tailored on the person. So
Yeah,
people literally need to come to me, spend a bit of time with them on the mat work. They go home and practice, they're like, oh my God, it just all makes sense now. And
yeah,
they're happy. And they might then message me in 6 months' time and go, oh, this has happened. And we'll sort of touch base again. But other
yeah,
people just need more, and that's fine.
yeah. No, so totally flexible, not you're not fixed.
And
And
I don't do packages because of that, because I can't say, well, you're going to need six and you're going to
no,
need.
no,
No,
no, And one of the things that you definitely do is you definitely stand out authentically,
I
right?
try. Yeah.
I think you do. So, you know, how can techs themselves look to set themselves apart within in this industry without, relying on gimmicks and things? I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. I mean, I did a load of for Botched Ink. I worked with a media agency to really help me, and I don't want to go too much into marketing agency rather. Um, I really got to do my brand pack of vision, mission, purpose.
Yeah.
Who am I? What do I stand for? What's my voice? What's my tone of voice? What words do I use? Do you
Yeah.
know? Because I felt at one point, several years ago now, um, that I was kind of flying in the dark because I didn't really know who I was. And because I didn't really know who I was, my whole style of posting on social media and my whole way of being was you couldn't really see what I was trying to say because I didn't really know
Yes.
what I was trying to say.
I think that's
So
right.
is
Yeah.
that part of mentoring as well that you kind
Massively.
of,
When I usually send out a questionnaire, and I do put some questions on there like, what is your why? And with that, I'm not looking for, oh, I want to give my kids a brighter future. Not that isn't completely important, and that probably is part of your why.
hmm
Why have you chosen this particular skill to get you where you want to be? What is it that you're wanting this thing to provide you with? Uh,
yeah,
and I'm trying to get the bottom of, like you say, who are they?
yeah,
What's important to them? Is honesty important to them? Is money important to them?
hmm
Like, whatever, I need to know why you're in this to then move forward with you. But you need to know you first.
you
You know?
do, you do.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me personally, I felt so much strength from actually having been through
Yes.
the process of knowing, I was coming at it from a different angle, but it's the same thing that was done,
Yeah.
you know? And when you then look at the permanent makeup industry, the way it's going at the moment, not the way it's going at the moment. Okay, let's talk about the Facebook groups. Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Facebook groups. We touched on it briefly about, comparing yourself to others
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But how can somebody know what they're looking at is the truth?
This
How
is
can somebody know what's
this is what's
fact, fiction, or marketing?
also as well. I find in these Facebook groups, a lot of people go in for advice, which is great. They're asking for advice, they're wanting help, they're admitting that they need some help,
Yeah.
but they might be getting advice from someone who literally trained last week.
And you don't know.
And all they're doing is regurgitating what their trainers told them, which may not be true. Um, they, or you could be very lucky and get some of the industry stars answering your question,
I
who
mean,
literally who are like have been in it way before me. You know, make me look like a newbie. Um, you just don't know, and I think you can't take all your answers on face value. And I don't always think that Facebook is the place to find your information.
and there's so many people that I know in the groups as well.
Yeah,
Hold on. What I'm sort of trying to say is, I'm trying to think how to. I'm not very learned. What I mean by that is I'm not university educated.
yeah,
Okay. Um, so my like when I had to do my teacher training qualification, I had to do an assignment. It was my first ever assignment. I'd never done an assignment in my life. Um, but some people are very, very good through education or through their own personality style at sourcing information and knowledge, but they haven't actually done much.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And that comes across in how they talk and try to educate.
Yeah.
And it can be quite impressive, can't it?
Oh, absolutely.
But it ain't real.
No, it's not real, and it's not on their own personal experience either. It's not on
No.
experience, which education's really crucial, but experience is more valuable. And I'll always
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah. But that again, in the Facebook groups, that's very hard.
It
That's
is.
very hard to actually know. And there are just obviously thousands of people in these, or tens of thousands of people in these groups
And then
to
you get,
even try and manage who's actually like, it's almost like you want to have your own little star system that you can rate someone.
yes, yeah,
Wouldn't that be
like
great for Facebook to do?
verified, I'm a nice human. There's so many
Well,
out there
no,
who
so
really
no,
are.
so you can actually give your own, that you
Yeah,
can tag someone and make notes on that person and say, don't listen to them. They're a twat. Don't
yeah.
listen. This
This person
person's a
who helps
star.
knows what they're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
I've
think
read
that would
really
be
helpful, things in the forum, like you'll post a picture and then somebody will just put a crying face. Well, the person posting the picture
is now
doesn't know
devastated.
there's an issue with what they've posted, which is why they're asking for help.
Or the worst ones, a laugh.
Yeah, so you've literally crushed that person, but you have not given anything to help that person improve at all.
Yeah.
I think that's just they're the worst ones that make me the most angry.
Yeah.
The
Or
media.
someone, I mean, when I post, I do try to add value that hasn't already been mentioned,
Yes, absolutely. And
you
also
know?
constructive. Yes, I'm not going to tell someone their work's amazing when it clearly isn't. However,
Yeah.
I will give a very supportive, clear answer as to what they can do to make
Yeah.
it better next time and to learn from it. Else, what's the point? You
Do
know?
you get a lot of texts because of the support that you particularly give in the Facebook groups?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of texts messaging you, and do you want to encourage that?
I do get some message me. Usually when I've reached out to them and I'll say, feel free to DM me.
Hmm.
And I'm more than happy to help anybody that I've definitely reached out to. Sometimes it's difficult because I am only one person, and I know a few other people in the industry that have this issue, in that you can't literally constantly give your time and expertise away for completely free.
Hmm.
You want to help and support, but there has to be a line where you look after you.
And
Some
when they start asking
people
training
yeah, they can
questions.
drain you of all energy and information. Some people will
Hmm.
come back, to the cup until it's dry. And you can usually find these people. But and it's not all about money for me. If it was, I wouldn't be charging £500 a day. I'd be well on
No.
to much, much more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But I do think that sometimes you've just got to protect yourself from the people that will literally just take without ever
And they
looking.
don't know well, hold on. They don't know the context sometimes of the questions that they're asking for you
Yeah,
to then know the right context of of answering that question, you know?
just be massive. You could just go down a rabbit hole with some people.
Uh-huh. I
And
mean, it
yeah,
must be
on a
draining.
class,
It
on a
must.
messenger.
I mean, one of the things that I often say when people are messaging me, I don't like you, I don't mind answering questions, but there's a point where you're asking me a question that's a training question, and that's something that I would want to share with you on a training class,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
for example, what's the Botched Ink method?
yeah, exactly.
Come and learn.
Yeah, yeah. There is a line where you've just got to say, well, actually, that
Hmm.
well, the remit here, you know.
So, coming back to you, was there a time that you felt, I mean, we talked about in your early career with permanent makeup, but, you've been in the permanent makeup industry for a while now. We all still have moments of doubt
Oh,
and where are we going with this and unsure and stuff. I mean, there's been a lot of realignment of the industry over the last few years post-COVID.
yeah.
How have you got through it?
I am quite a positive, calm, confident person on the whole. That tends to be generally my default. But I do have times when I'm really not. I'm good at
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
not letting people know of what's
Yeah.
going on. Very much, no, everything's fine. Um, and it sometimes isn't.
Mhm.
Um, but I came out of COVID, um, and I'd convinced myself that I couldn't do lips. I did one set of lips when we opened back up that didn't go well. Um, and then like the demons set in, and I'd completely convinced myself that I couldn't do lips, which is ridiculous. Of course I can do lips. I've been doing lips for 5 years before COVID. So what had changed? Nothing. I could still do brows and liner. Why my brain fixed on this? I can't do lips. I can't do lips. So I did actually book on a masterclass, which it was a masterclass, but it was a bit more, not basic, that's the wrong word. It was a bit more methodical. It wasn't anything, it wasn't reinventing the wheel masterclass.
Mhm.
It was just growing on a basics idea, and a method. And I got there and I was like, "Oh, you don't need to be here. You don't need to be here." And I do because I can't do lips. And they're like, "Yes, she can. She can. When you booked on, I looked at your work online. You can do lips." I'm like, "No, honestly, I've come back from COVID. I've lost all confidence. I've had one disastrous time with a client, and now I'm absolutely adamant I can't do lips. So I'm here for you to help me realise that I can do lips." And that is what it did. But honestly, I'd really got myself in such a rut, that I'd convinced myself that lips were never going to happen again. In fact, I was even going to take them off my price list, Lisa.
So do you like doing lips now?
I love lips. I love all of it. I love it. I love it from scalp, areola, lips. I
Uh-huh.
absolutely love
Uh-huh.
all of it. There isn't anything that ever books in like, oh God, it's eyeliner or anything like that. I
I
absolutely
remember eyeliner was on training. No, I when I had my eyeliner done,
yeah,
just lash definition, I was awful. I
yeah,
couldn't keep my eyes open. I was awful.
yeah,
Right. So when I was then learning how to do eyeliner, that translated.
yeah,
Yeah. And for quite a few of my first clients, I was no good at eyeliner.
yeah.
But one of the things that I then spotted was that I was talking to the client too much during the eyeliner, instead of making them shut up and letting me get on with it.
Yeah. And I do that. I'm very chatty until we start, and then I'm silent.
Yeah, like shut up. This numbing cream doesn't last for very long. You need me
I
to get.
ask me to say something. I very politely and calmly shut the conversation down. I'm not talking. You have got my 100% undivided attention whilst I am
Mm.
saying exactly how it should be. I shouldn't be looking out the corner of my eye, or someone's just messaged me on my phone, or
Yes,
with somebody at the front,
yes.
or
Your
anything.
phone should be nowhere blinking near.
Oh, absolutely, that's a
Yeah,
whole.
nowhere near. So, what is there something that you wish techs would stop worrying about?
Should they stop worrying about? Good thing. I think we kind of have touched on it, but I do think that it's this constant comparison to what other people are doing and the work they're producing.
Yeah,
Mindset wise, that's probably the most damaging thing out there at the moment, is constantly looking at edited photos on Instagram. Oh,
yeah.
my work's not like that. My work's never going to, and you can get yourself in a real slump about it,
Because we can be quite a cruel industry to each other, can't we?
and to ourselves.
Yeah. Oh
I mean,
gosh, yes.
I pick holes in my work
Yes.
to the point where I don't actually look at any of the work I've done until a week later. And then I come back
Hmm.
with fresh eyes. I'm like, actually, that was a good set of lips. That was a good eyebrow. But if I go in straight after, I can, yeah, even
Hmm.
I can still,
I mean, one of the things that I was awful at, you know, brow shapes, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and when I mainly done permanent makeup, all the mapping thing wasn't really a
Oh,
thing
that is
like it is
so,
now.
yeah,
So I used to map by eye and check with the calipers. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and I have a really good eye for
yeah,
balance.
yeah,
Yeah. It doesn't have to be, brows need to work together. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah,
So they don't need to match, they need to work. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Um, but one of the traps that I used to get myself into was when I took the photos afterwards, I'd then dissect the hell out of that photo
yes,
and see straight away what I'd done wrong and everything. And
yeah,
then I then decided to solve it by actually taking that photo before I'd cleaned my trolley.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Take the
absolutely.
photo, obviously gloves off, take the photo, dissect it, or have them just, and bloody get them to lay back down again.
Oh yeah, I've done that, and I do that with my mapping. Like when
Mhm.
I get them to sit up, take a photo, and sometimes you can see on a photo.
You can see that is the biggest trick in the
Oh,
world.
yeah, it's the best tip that is for people.
Literally take a photo.
Yeah,
And you know, like when some people, the minute that you're trying to take a photo, my eyebrows, I talk a lot with my eyebrows.
yeah,
Yeah. My
yeah,
eyebrows don't keep still. So, and some people are constantly like that. Some people are constantly like that. And one of the tips that I taught myself was get them to really frown, really frown. And then the minute that they've opened their eyes, take the picture.
yes,
Because that's when the brows are the most, you
yeah,
know. And so I don't, it's not that there's no excuse to have mismatched brows. It's just opportunities that you haven't potentially thought of
yeah,
and
absolutely.
tips, you know. But then coming back to mentoring and Claire and your skill upgrading workshops, updating workshops, your little nuggets and tips, they only come out in this masterclass mentoring thing.
Yeah,
When, you know, because I kind of find it, do you agree when you're doing a training session one to one,
yeah,
right? That student gets way more out of you than they've paid you for.
huge amount, huge amount.
Way more than they've paid you for,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
Trouble is, as the day unravels, you go down little rabbit.
especially if you've got a student
No,
that's just a complete sponge and they get it and they're
yes,
questioning and you've got them one
yeah,
to one.
I absolutely love being asked questions. I
Hmm.
thrive on being asked.
But you kind of think, Christ, you've really earned my value.
Yeah, massively. I really struggle with students that don't ask questions. Um,
Yes.
okay, because
Yes.
I feel like I dry up a bit, like I'm not quite sure what avenue to take
Well,
next.
because you're also not getting to learn
Who
what
they
their
are,
level of understanding of what it is
absolutely.
is. So
Yeah,
this is the whole thing why I think again mentoring is incredibly important because it is that one-to-one intention attention
yeah.
where
I
you
think
can ask as many questions as you like and you can really do you find that okay, let's handle this not carefully but differently. Training's one thing, mentoring is very different because mentoring, in my view, you bloom in a whole different way.
it's all about growth. Very
Hmm.
about your own individual growth mentoring. Training is a little bit like, well, this is how you do it, this is why you do it. Mentoring is just so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
there's enough people that I know, and we seem to attract them as botched ink. Okay, hold on. They botched ink attracts them and botched ink's me, so I clearly attract them and I've got you
yeah,
too. Right. These people with a higher level of thinking.
yes. Questioners
Yeah.
want to know more.
Yeah. And don't they get frustrated? Don't you get frustrated? I get frustrated when you're trying to learn from somebody and you've dried them out in half an hour.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they've got nothing more to give you because that was it, you know. So basically, you're not dry, Claire.
I'm just a geek as well.
Uh-huh.
Just love
Uh-huh.
more.
A
I don't
knowledge geek.
just
So
think I just I'm sat there thinking, well, that was a very nice presentation, but now I've literally got at least 40 to 50 questions that I need to ask you on a
and
one-to-one.
you really should have
Oh,
covered them in your training.
it's just gone, you know. Like, still at the presentation, like, now I'm gonna have to book on a course, aren't I?
So big question now. Are you excited or concerned for the future of the permanent makeup industry?
I am personally very excited. I think that things have generally moved forward for the better.
Hmm.
I think that it's not long before all these dodgy trainers get called out. They don't last long. They
They don't. They
especially with,
don't.
especially with social media, word gets round. I
Well,
um
and they haven't got a website to back themselves up anyway, only a
yeah,
following.
and it just and they come and they go. So I think that things are starting to move forward. I'm a little bit apprehensive about all this legislation that's coming in, purely because the people writing the legislation often don't even know what they're talking about,
And
which
that
is,
legislation often focuses on health and safety rather than skill.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I
I
think
have to say, I'm not. I I wish the rule makers would actually come to the experienced people who do it. The stake, no, hold on. Actually invite stakeholders, us,
yes,
to these meetings.
yeah, what needs to be done.
Yeah, what needs to be done to take this forward? Because otherwise, I'm not particularly a fan of more regulations.
I mean, making everyone have an off-call level 4,
Ugh.
that all depends on the standard of the training because I have worked
And
with
there's shortcuts.
off-qual for since 2001. I've worked with
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I can tell you that there are shortcuts and ways of getting students through that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with standards or
Yeah,
quality of teaching.
yeah.
So it isn't the answer.
I mean, I spoke to, this is years ago, a environmental health officer,
Yeah,
okay, was having a good chat with him. I don't mind talking to people like that.
yeah,
Um, and I asked him, you know, there's 30, 40 permanent makeup studios, microblading studios that have set up in the last few years.
yeah,
But one of the things that you never asked me was, can I look at your work?
yeah,
Yeah. And he said, no, we don't. Obviously, they don't check it. Well, they don't check insurance either, but they didn't want to look at my work. And I was kind of a bit sort of, well, can't you see that that's a problem?
yeah.
Yeah. And he turned around to me and said a point that at the time I thought was disgraceful, but I actually kind of now agree with it to a degree.
Yeah.
Who am I to tell you that you can't have those crappy brows?
Well, yeah,
If you want crappy brows, like it's like a tattoo, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
How a body tattoo I'm talking about. If you want a silly little £5 job offer you,
yeah,
I'm talking £5. You know, you know what I'm talking about. But
yeah,
basically, if you, who am I to tell you you can't have that?
yeah,
It's when somebody wants really good work, but
yeah,
they haven't researched enough
yeah,
to see that the person they're doing it doesn't give that kind of work.
yeah.
That's the problem. But isn't that the industry monitoring itself and clients managing themselves?
Yeah, I think things are moving forward. Clients are becoming more educated.
Oh gosh, aren't they just? Yeah.
A
About
lot.
time.
Yeah, clients are researching a lot more.
Hmm.
I mean, I charge a fairly high price for my brows and my work.
Hmm.
Particular kind of client who's booked in and paid the deposit without even asking what the
But
end.
they aren't coming for the price, they're coming for you.
Yeah, exactly that. Uh,
Yeah.
and they have looked at my work and they have got friends that have got my work on their face and
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, there's
But
no.
then that all comes down to, again, Claire, you knowing you, you projecting you, and people being able to see you.
Yeah,
And that's when I always think it's such a shame when really talented artists haven't got the business bit
yeah,
right yet.
yeah, and that.
I'm looking at so many people's social media, and on their social media, they don't even share what part of the world they're in
Yeah.
or how to contact them.
What I find an industry, beauty industry wide issue is everyone trains and works for themselves.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have dreamt of working for myself when I finished
Hmm.
college for
Hmm.
years because I needed to learn. what there was to learn from someone who else who'd been doing it.
Yeah.
Even if it was how I wasn't going to do it, I needed to learn that.
Needed to learn
I
it. Yeah.
I had been in the industry 18 years before I opened my business. So
Oh, right. Uh-huh.
worked
Well, I
teaching
mean, I'd started on my own
and
straight away. I mean, I've not had a job since 1999.
yeah. I learned a lot through that, seeing how other people did it, and I'm like, oh,
Hmm. Yeah,
that
so I bumbled and fell a few times along the way.
was definitely the move
Um,
now to learn to do brows and then work from your garden, where you literally are so isolated.
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing, and it's not that that's necessarily wrong for everybody because it's not everyone does different things, but you are automatically isolated. Then you've got no one to call on.
But then that's what has become so important for you when you were saying about your community that
Yeah.
you've built over the years and are talking to actively over the years. So what's one small, powerful shift or action a tech can do today to help their business?
A tech who's where in there,
Anywhere.
where
Oh, call it middle.
in the middle. One powerful thing. I think it is. I think the most important thing is to project, and I think we've already covered it, but it is to project you, to know you and be you, because you are selling you.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
look
all it ever
after.
comes back down to. I mean, you can be absolutely amazing at brows. There's someone local to me. She does beautiful work, but she'll pop somebody on a bed. She's barely done a consultation. She doesn't show them the mapping. If they ask a question, she cuts them dead. Like, just no, there's no warmth or anything there. Um,
I mean, she won't have built a long-term client
and they haven't. And where do they end up?
coming to you.
Quite a lot of them with me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it is all about who you are and letting people know who you are and making that message travel through everything from your website to your social media to the first point of touch with your client.
Yeah.
I mean, I always
It's
think of it,
branding you, isn't it?
yeah,
It's not branding PMU Focus.
no,
It's branding your voice has to follow through.
you focus.
Anywhere where a client finds you,
Yes,
your voice has to follow
they
through.
message me and I will either pick up the phone and call them if they've
Yeah.
provided a phone number, or I'll voice message them. I never ever type a message
Hmm.
to the client.
I had a Botched Ink client, not one of my clients, one of our text clients, message me with some questions, and she wrote a huge long WhatsApp and several messages and a load of photos, but everything she wrote wasn't over emotional. It was actually very good information. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that I kind of needed to know, which was very helpful. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to go backwards and forwards here. Can I just call you?
yeah, yeah. I don't
So we
mind
had
a
a really
bit
good
of
chat.
messages.
I don't mind doing that.
You need to speak to a person.
Yeah. Yeah. However, if anything actually goes wrong, everything needs to be written down.
Absolutely.
To just quickly say on that side.
Yeah. And also, I don't mean because actually something that really annoys me, and it's a small thing, but it really niggles me, is the hey hun culture that we have now, where we are so over familiar with people we've never met.
Yeah.
So often in a message
Hey,
from
babe. Don't
potential,
mind actually being called babe. That's not my issue.
no,
Yeah.
it's the fact that you've not ever even spoken to me and I'm
Mm-hmm.
a babe. I
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't feel right that you can be warm and friendly in yourself, but still be
Mm-hmm.
a professional.
Yeah.
And your clients are always, always your clients,
Not your
um,
friends.
not your friends. They are a client. And, when things don't go well, I find most people become unstuck because they've crossed that barrier. It's become all that hey hun, kisses on the end of the message.
Hmm.
And then they get into trouble because they've made that client a friend and they're not a friend.
And
And
they
then
certainly won't be a friend if anything goes
quite
wrong.
nasty because emotion starts to come into
Yes. Yes.
all of that. Whereas if you keep it, especially your written, it needs to be professional. I don't
Yeah.
hate anybody that's paying me money. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's something that niggles me. You've got
It's
to take
it's
that.
it's barriers, and it's also protecting. I don't mean protecting yourself legally. It's also protecting your mental health. And I don't normally like using that word, but it's kind of. Um, I actually often instead of saying mental health, I say energy.
Yes, and it is about that. It's all about
Um,
the life and the energy and everything. Yeah,
it's like some people are just complete energy suckers,
yeah.
complete energy suckers, and it's quickly spotting that and unplugging.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the biggest things is not learning how to do a good brow. It's how to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So many times we hear text turning around and saying that you almost become a counselor to so many of your clients. That's so true though as well. But one of the things, I mean, I don't know what happens with me because I'm not actually particularly like this as a person, but I clearly am during a treatment, yeah, which is weird. But people completely open and spill to me.
yeah,
I'm, but I'm one of them people that what goes on in the treatment room stays in the treatment room. The
and
minute that they've left and I've shut the door, or I've clapped out the energy if I needed to,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I
I've
think that.
forgotten it because then sometimes people have come back and said, "Oh my God, I shouldn't have told you all that last time." What?
Yeah,
Because I genuinely
you have to
won't have
remind me.
remembered it.
Yeah,
And it's actually been quite annoying sometimes because there's been over the years some things that I really wish I'd have remembered but I couldn't remember. So, your plans for the future. So, Claire, you've built something really special over the years with PMU Focus and your whole branding, the way you are, the way you carry yourself, the way you work, and everything. So, what's going to be your new future? What's going to be any products or any projects and courses and support that you're
yeah.
working on for the future?
I am working on a few things at the moment. I am working on boot camps subscription
Mm.
style, which is slightly different to the way that I've worked in the past, but I've seen it work for people whereby they subscribe so much a month, they get so many lessons a month, and it's very broken down into, steps, methodology. You need to do this, 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 and this. And then at the end, you get to the end of your boot camp, you will be able to do a beautiful ombre brow. So
Ah.
they're going to be tailored to different things. So like shaded liner, winged liner, ombre lips, and even just sort of mindset. I'm going to do a mindset boot camp and all of that. So
Are these
people,
online boot camps
it's
or
going
in
to
person?
be online, but they will be things like a Zoom call, like we're doing now. So you like
Mhm.
a check in with other people that are already on the boot camp, so you can ask questions on a platform. And yeah, it's going to be a well-rounded way of doing it, but it's just something a little bit different, different way of working, trying something else to help more people, really.
And that's the whole thing in this industry. You grow, you evolve, the industry does, and it's kind of keep doing the same thing that everyone was doing last year, but if you don't try and do something new,
And it
if you don't put it
doesn't.
out there, you don't know if it's going to work. I mean, one of the things when you were saying boot camp that I was wondering if you meant, there was a conference a couple of years ago that billed themselves as a permanent makeup retreat.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
actually thought that that was quite an interesting thingy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't feel at the time that it was it. I understood what they were doing. I did, and it could have gone further, and it could have been quite interesting because quite a few. I've spoken to a few permanent makeup techs over the years, and more people are going on these retreats, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And I'm even getting
Travel them.
curious, and that's not really my nature. I mean, I'm curious as a person, but to go to a retreat, and I'm kind of thinking, gosh, what might that actually do for me?
I did a similar thing with a treatment that I learned last year, and actually, it's really good because it's very immersive. Uh,
Hmm.
Literally living that subject for 5 days,
Uh-huh.
and it was business building. There was some work with mindset and meditation, as well as learning this
Uh-huh.
particular skill, and it was brilliant. And it's something, funnily enough, that I have been in talks with about running
Oh, sorry.
um, we have discussed it. It's
Uh-huh.
it's about getting your message out there, isn't it? It's how
Yeah.
persuading people, because it's
Yeah.
not gonna be cheap,
Yeah.
persuading people that the investment of the time and money is worth it rather than just going on a quick masterclass.
Yeah.
It's managing to get your message across. I think that's probably the thing that I
And
would.
and that's always the hardest thing
Yeah.
for it, unless you happen to be, you know, Insta famous.
Yes, but then is the quality going to be there if they're Insta famous? You know?
Yeah. So what sometimes, but not always. We know
Exactly.
that,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to say thank you. This has been really good. We've
Oh,
covered
brilliant.
loads, haven't we?
Yeah.
Covered loads. So your passion for this industry, for your mentoring, for your training, for the whole industry alone and alive is really clear to see. And if anyone wants to connect with you, what is the best way that they can contact you, message you?
What?
Um, is
It's
it?
always the easiest to get hold of me on WhatsApp.
Is it?
Really.
What's your number then?
My number is 077 020 47673, and
And
it's
say that again, please.
077 020 47673.
Is that linked anywhere on your social media or on your
Yeah, it's
website
on
or anything?
everything. Yeah, it's on everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone goes on, what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is PMU Focus. That's it.
Nice and easy. Yeah.
Yeah, really easy.
So can people contact you easily on Instagram as well?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm pretty much reachable through Facebook Messenger, Instagram, email, WhatsApp, but
Yeah.
it's literally on my phone and it pings up. It's the quickest way of
See,
getting.
do you know, I'm trying to be a WhatsApp girl.
I
It's
love
not
WhatsApp.
well, it's not got me yet. I use it completely. I definitely use it completely, but it's not my first one,
Yeah,
you
I'm.
know?
I've over the last couple of years, I've become a real WhatsApp girl. I use that more than anything else now.
So, what I'm going to say to everybody is, oh, anything final you would like to say, Claire?
Anything final? Um, don't ever feel stupid for asking for help,
Yeah,
because we all need to ask for help.
yeah.
I've had mentoring for business, I've had mentoring for skill advancement, and
Mm.
you never know it all. And there is genuinely no such thing as a stupid question. If you need to know that information, then just ask.
Ask. Yeah, yeah. No, that's brilliant. This whole talk's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. And like the whole mentoring thing, it is mentoring. Oh, hold on. Just before I click, mentoring, you say it's mindset. Yeah, it's mindset to be open to mentoring as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. I think I went through, I mean, I'm 30 years into beauty now. I would say it's probably 20 years in. I
Mm.
didn't realize that I knew that it didn't know that I needed mentoring in any way.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I didn't see the point in it, didn't understand why you'd spend money on it. Thought
I
it
mean,
was a
I've
bit
had
greedy, actually. I thought it was a bit like
new age.
a cult, like they were going to transform your mindset and all of this. So,
I've just thought of a brilliant, right, okay, I've just thought of a brilliant question. Claire,
yes.
what is the difference between mentoring and coaching?
I think that coaching is more prescriptive in that it puts in very functional ways of doing things, like you need to do these steps to get here. I think mentoring is a more rounded approach in that you you actually will grow, you will find your own way of getting to the result that you need, rather than it having to just be the same A, B, C, D that everyone else is doing.
I hate coaching.
I know exactly what you mean, and I don't like
I've
that.
worked with coaches over the year and I do not like
Doesn't,
it.
it doesn't sum up what I do. I don't coach.
And I'm too far ahead for a coach.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when I wasn't, I was.
I think coaching for me comes into the parameters of presenting, Whereas,
And it's almost a bit like counseling as well, isn't it? It's, oh,
yeah,
hold on. It's kind of a bit like prescriptive. It's kind of like coaches
individual,
follow certain ready methods, and
yes,
it's
that's
their favorite method.
yeah, this has worked for me. You need to do this. Well,
Yeah.
that might not work for my business model. I need you to help me find my way of working and what's going to work.
Yeah. So that was a good question to finish on, eh?
Good question. Well done.
I hadn't even thought about that. It wasn't written down anybody. So
Well done.
thank you. But that's also why I stayed away from a lot of seeking help because I didn't like coaches.
And I think that's probably the same for me. That,
Hmm. And then I understood the difference of the different types of mentors that I've had. They might not even class themselves as mentors, but they blinking was,
yeah,
you know. Um, they've really helped me. I did a load of, hold on, self-development, let's just call it that. Yeah, I did loads of self-development, and it wasn't about me liking myself, it was me understanding myself
yeah,
and how I wanted to run my business and stuff like that. So, yeah, so I'm all for mentoring. I don't necessarily always like the word,
yeah,
but I like the what it does.
yeah. I think we need to make a new word for it.
We need to make a new word and trademark it. Right, on that note, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And Claire's been wonderful, hasn't she? Claire from PMU Focus. She's great on WhatsApp, but she's also great on Instagram and on her website as well. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, goodbye.